I've only seen Antigua like once.
Yeah, we have not seen a lot of Antigua. I'm not surprised about that though, because
Antigua's falling out of favor in all matchups.
And same with Shakuris.
Yeah, we saw Shakuris a couple times.
Well, yeah, a few times. Not so much PvP there.
Yeah, but here we go. On Ohana gonna be spawning up in the upper left corner, the 11 o'clock position. We have GIANTSMURF, his map pick this time around. He'll be spawning as a blue Protoss, and bottom right corner will be Eric the Red as Siphon.
Oh man, that is Eric the Red.
It is. It's about as red as you can get, man.
Actually, no. Eric the Red's a little more orangey, to be honest.
Yeah, looking at your hair, it is a little bit more orangey.
But either way,
you're not a ginger, but you're definitely red. Like that's what it is.
Yeah, man, I'm red.
It's unique. I saw I knew you were right at the train station. I knew exactly who to look for. I'm like, that's the guy I need.
Oh man, that's crazy, man. Maybe you. Well, anyway, going into this game, I think have we seen Siphon play any PvPs on this map quite yet?
I believe we have not.
I don't remember it.
Dude, this has been only been catching a lot of games.
We saw GIANTSMURF play against Optic Nemesis here.
Yeah, he.
That's when. Is that when Nemesis did that immortal blink timing?
I think so. And that's when he took a very GIANTSMURF was down in the bottom section, took a very late Nexus here, and Nemesis was able to take a very early Nexus in comparison.
Yeah, so GIANTSMURF has been favoring these more middle of the road builds on this map historically, just from today alone. So I think something like a 3-gate Robo expand, while it does get you the expansion, it's a little bit late and it leaves you wanting a little bit more in terms of the economy.
Yeah. So gateways going down for both players. It looks like Siphon went for a 13-gate, whereas Smurf went for a 12-gate. Not a big variance there, although 13-gate can be kind of indicative of a blink once again. A little bit more economic because you will not be cutting a probe to get any kind of gas or piling out. That's kind of the nice thing about a 13-gate. And if you plan on playing defensively or economically, you're okay. It's not going to make that much of a difference. If you're getting aggressive, I really couldn't recommend a 13-gate.
Yeah, it seems like Siphon is preferring that more aggressive style in general as well. GIANTSMURF, in most of the games we've seen, he's been a little bit more passive, with the exception being that game when he decided to base trade earlier today. But that was much more reactive. That wasn't like an intended all-in attack.
Yeah, and he seems like a very reactive player. Taking a second gas right there. It's unfortunate we haven't seen Smurf be able to express that very, very strong level of decision making. Skipping the Zealot, both players actually skipping the Zealot here. Second gateway going down for Siphon, so doing that pretty much signature to get 2-gate. It's interesting to see that Optic Nemesis preserves a 3-gate expand. Siphon getting 2 gates almost every single game, and GIANTSMURF, kind of mixing it up. Has a little bit more variance to him, and maybe that's just because he hasn't found a secure build in PvP that he likes to go every time.
I think it's more that he just is very, very intelligent about the little bit of information that he can get early on, and he makes informed decisions. Yeah, he'll style his opening according to if he thinks he can do some damage or if he just thinks he wants to play it safe. Yeah. So and he manages to do all of this without even scouting, which is the most amazing thing about it. I mean, he'll just. Right now he's just going by.
Oh wow, he hasn't scouted at all.
Exactly,
actually.
He's totally in the dark, but he's gonna feel out. He's gonna test the waters with his first Stalker, and behind this he's just going for robotics and a sentry. So this is actually a bit more of a defensive style. I guess maybe triggered from the fact that there's been no Zealot pushing across the map quite yet. He feels like he doesn't need additional Stalkers.
It's quite possible. He does have a sentry back home, so he will be able to play a little bit more defensively with that. Second sentry on the way.
Quick Nexus, though, by Siphon.
Yeah, he's had those 2 gates now, man. Those 4 Stalkers make him very, very defensive.
Right.
It shuts down 5.
I think he was chroning all those Stalkers out, wasn't he?
Yeah, it's kind of a variation of that 1-gate expand that Zen Experimento has kind of popularized for a little bit on the ladder.
I mean, chronoing 2 gates is actually so good. You get a lot of units out, comparable to, the first round or so of a 4-gate, but the difference is that you've allocated that chrono boost more towards the gateways, so you've spent less minerals on actual production, so you can afford to take an expansion behind it.
Yeah, and the whole point of getting out those early Stalkers is to shut down any kind of 4-gate that could be coming out. Shut down that aggressive push.
It's just a very logical build all around.
Yeah, and Probe will poke up here to see what is going on. We'll see 2 sentries.
Wants to see what the army is.
And Siphon says, nope, can't push into that. Gonna go on home.
Now, he's seen 2 sentries, so he's feeling kind of confident there's no really fast tech coming out here.
That's true. That's also true. So Siphon getting a little bit of information from that as well as the security that I've taken his Nexus is nearly complete. Smurfs just started.
Yeah, and honestly though, I feel like these additional sentries are just gonna they're gonna start to taper off in terms of their effectiveness as the game goes on.
Yeah, as soon as Colossi comes out, force fields kind of take a dive in terms of being useful. Yeah, they can still be thrown down to push or shove an army in one direction or the other, force field your ramp off, but Colossi can break him so easily.
In a way, that's why, I don't know, I personally feel like building blind sentries, it's okay if you have a good sense of what's coming, but
no more than 4, I think, ever.
Yeah. I mean, in PvP, though, honestly, I feel like getting more than 2 or 3 is always a little bit of a risk, because you just sacrifice your economy in a matchup where, sacrifice your tech in a matchup where having that tech advantage could be everything.
This is very, very true. Looking at the army supply tab, you see they're pretty much dead even, 20-19. Worker supply favoring Siphon by a single probe. However, AGIANTSMURF having army supply by a single food count. So pretty much dead even in regards to everything.
Will these observers see each other, though?
And will they
Siphon stalkers are in a position to perform a snipe if they...
No, they're not. No. I don't think they saw each other. However, did you ever know that the shadow observer on high settings, look at that, you can actually see the blue on the ground. It's transparent.
I didn't even know that. That's crazy.
I rarely ever watched this game.
That doesn't even seem physically possible. How could an observer have a blue shadow?
Oh, he's translucent, man. Well, I mean, he's close. I don't know.
Or maybe he's refracting the sunlight or something.
Yeah, I guess that's what is happening. And it's even red, too, so...
That's pretty cool.
I think he noticed, man, on extreme graphics setting.
Well, it looks like Siphon found himself a little supply block, but it will be corrected just a second.
Yeah, getting himself Blink out as well is pretty... I think it's a good transition here. Immortal Blink is very, very powerful.
And this is actually great timing against someone who's going for fast Colossus with,
with
these sentries. And again, look, these sentries are going to be useless versus this Blink Immortal timing. He's relied totally on the fact that these sentries are going to keep him safe. He's got this nice little choke. He's going to get some Colossus, but in reality, he's totally blind.
Oh, he actually gets an observer snipe.
He saw the Twilight Council, so he has some idea probably that there's Blink coming. He needs to maybe make a wall or something like that. I don't know if he's started.
4 additional gates
coming down here. This is going to be a big all-in. Now, I'd say Smurf, he really needs to try to get a wall up or something like that. If he wants to hold Colossus behind the wall, just do so
cannons,
well.
Man, would be actually really good. 2 cannons.
You don't want to blink into cannons. And he actually, very wisely, is starting to build up that wall.
Yeah, I think even a cannon right in the middle there, and maybe one right here.
All those immortals are so fat, and the zealots are going to get all crunched up in there too. So even though the force fields are not going to be good against the Blink Stalkers, they can still keep the rest of the units back.
Yeah, and you can, force field right there prevents some zealots getting to the cannons. Yeah. And getting the cannons up front, it's going to either force, the Protoss, the other Protoss player to push his immortals to the front to tank the cannon damage.
Or he would,
which then makes him, I gotta be careful talking to the mic, which then makes him a little bit more vulnerable to being picked off.
Or he would have to, engage with the Stalkers in front, which means, if he wants to actually bypass those gateways, he can't blink from the back.
This is very, very true.
If he tries to engage with the immortals in front, they're not going to make it over that. They're not going to be able to jump
with a significant army supply lead, 39-55. Worker count in favor of Smurf, so he will be able to pretty much just go all-out units from here on. Has only 5 gates, though, and I'm hoping that it's enough. He does have a Colossi that has a good number of sentries. This is going to be pretty much down to the wire. If, Smurf can get out 2 Colossi in range, he'll be okay. And, going to go for the blink up, but Smurf ready for it. Going to be able to get a good force field to zone out some of the...
This is what you gotta do,
Colossi pops up as well.
He just needs to get the Colossus and get out. That is the whole point of this build. But, look, the blink on this map, it's just so hard to get out of there intact. He loses more Stalkers than he should have.
But going to push forward. It's definitely going to push down right down the front.
But we'll see if he force field. He misses the force field opportunity, but now gets a couple. Immortals in front, though, so it's not going to help too much. And that Colossus goes down. I think this is just going to be curtains here for AGIANTSMURF.
But Siphon still ahead, still behind in supply.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's army supply.
Well, the reinforcements, remember how many gateways were down there?
Yeah, it's 7 gateways. 7 gateways. So even if he loses a core of his army, he can reinforce with every unit he possibly can.
Right, and then the zealots, though, are attacking gateways. He needs to be a little bit more proactive with those guys.
Probes now coming off the line to do what damage they can.
Losing so much economy, though.
Yeah.
And now another Colossus, guys. Will he get a blink on top of it? Observer's not in position to blink up in the high ground, but I think he's just killing so many probes at this point that it's really just looking really, really hard.
Worker count. Army supply is actually dead even a worker count. So
workers lost. I mean, it's going to probably be huge.
Yeah, but looking at the workers remaining, it's 41-43, so Smurf's not that far behind. He might be able to stabilize. I would not count him down and out here.
They lost so many Colossus, though.
Yeah, that's a lot of tank loss.
Again,
but let's not forget that Siphon very, very committed on that.
Yeah.
Main is starting to get mined out a little bit. Natural looking okay.
we'll see what happens. He may follow this up with yet another push. I mean, with these gateway-heavy styles, you kind of have to keep going push after push after push. With Siphonn floating this much money, though, I really wouldn't have minded seeing him throw in, like, you know, some Templar for Archons, maybe. Just trying to throw
Archons would be actually really good in this situation.
Just throw something else into the mix to help absorb some of that Zealot damage.
And Siphonn's going to push again and wants to keep on pushing forward. There's no Colossi out for this, but the gateways will choke up a bunch of units. However, Blinking's done for Siphonn, so he's able to aggressive blink forward onto the Stalkers.
Blink's
won't be enough.
Yeah, he saw the Zealots warping in there in the bottom and blinked right by them, so they'd have to walk all the way around the gateways. Because, I mean, Zealots against Stalkers straight up is a decent fight, but totally avoided that at first.
And
so really nice
that Colossi is so close to popping out. Smurf trying to hang on for dear life. If he can stabilize, I think he can win in the game.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's possible. Only one Colossus undefended at this point. He can just blink on top of that guy.
Yeah, 3 more weapons. It actually might be enough out of Smurf. He just has to micro this Colossi very, very carefully. Cannot lose it. Siphonn going to retreat from the back. More attacks from the front of the base.
Such a tense battle here. I mean, everything is on the line. And, oh, is he going to get in there again? One blink back. Manages to save the last Stalker. But, again, looking at the units lost, I mean, I think how much has actually been lost
if he had taken the time to get one upgrade. Oh, he actually has +1. So
I mean, units lost. It's so dead even right now. Those Colossus being the one thing that's keeping a Giant Smurf left in this game.
And that gateway is so close to going down. Losing that gateway, that should be pretty critical at this point.
Yeah, of course.
He only has 5 gateways if that goes down, and that's I mean, his economy is pretty damn hurt.
Yeah, but he can hardly even afford to make Stalkers at this point.
Yeah. Pushing forward. That Colossi doing what he's doing.
Another blink up. Very aggressive blink. He needs it to kill this Colossus, and he will take the Colossus down. Only Stalkers remaining, and I think Siphonn may have enough, but more Zealots warping in, and he's going to have to retreat again.
Dude, that +1, he has a +1 attack on those on the Protoss ground units, and that's pretty huge, man. And that even adds to the Colossi.
That Colossus doing so much splash damage to everything, and even though it keeps dying over and over again, I mean, you have to remember that Siphonn, he's just falling behind now. The upgrade advantage.
There goes the cannon. Finally getting that crucial cannon.
A cannon is so cost effective versus this kind of attack.
Any attack that's aggressive towards Colossi is going to be centric towards one unit. Static defense is going to be great because they're going to go all out in defending one single unit.
The photon cannon, it doesn't cost any gas. It has way more DPS than a Stalker does, and it's just a great unit. It also blocks off from units from walking by it. So. We'll see. He's starting destroying his own rocks, probably gearing up to take a third. He figures
he's being very happy to see that Siphonn does not have a third behind this.
Yeah, he is feeling very comfortable right now because he knows that he has a little bit of a safe period right now where Siphonn's going to either be transitioning out of this or gearing up for one last attack. And I think he's just trying to transition into that Colossus for one final death push.
Yeah, and Siphon's main is not looking terribly mined out, but is getting pretty low. Same with the Giant Smurf. He's actually oversaturated his mineral line here at the natural, which is not a good thing. It's actually hurting his income probably a little bit.
It's definitely, he should be even long distance mining some of that by now.
Yeah, long distance mining your third is actually a little bit more effective here overall. You want to pull maybe about that many probes.
Yeah, maybe 10 or so.
About that many actually would be safe to pull over, and long distance mining would actually be a little bit more effective there. There goes down the third Nexus though, however. So Giant Smurf stabilizing beautifully in upgrades, man, playing a huge role. Ground level 11-2, Zealot Leg Charge on the way. Siphonn now transitioning to double Colossi production, but he's sacrificed a lot of early game, mid-game economy as well.
How do you even afford this on 2 bases?
I don't know, man.
He's gone for Blink Stalkers, non-stop aggression. Now he's just barely trying to get these Colossus out, getting supply blocked in the midst of it. It's really, really looking bad for him. And taking a third behind this, I mean, he's just trying to do everything he can, obviously.
Oh, and Siphonn knows about the third, so he's going to feel at least a little bit tempted to attack into that. He just had that Zealot over there scouting. Of course, he has that POW4 over there as well. I think Dark Templar would not be a terrible thing, although that cannon there kind of complicates it. But
if you could get a DT, prism, it could always get in.
Yeah, DT into the main would actually be quite devastating right now.
But I don't know. I mean, on one hand, a Giant Smurf had this really nice economic advantage, and looking at the income tab, I mean, we see the worker supply is just dead even still, right?
Actually, I think Smurf is taking a little bit of a ahead. And don't forget, he lost 22 workers in the engagement, so he was able to not only stabilize but recover that and come out ahead.
Honestly, I think Siphon may, if Giant Smurf allows this base to just go on uncontested, I think it's actually going to be quite even from here on out.
This is one of the longer PvPs I've seen in a while. This is very, very good PvP at that.
They're both going double robotics Colossus, which is pretty standard to do.
World of the Worlds Colossi time.
Yeah, it's definitely a standard thing to do, but. What it's going to come down to is, is one player going to prefer to get, is a Giant Smurf ever going to get Charge and Blink of his own? Because as of right now, he does not have Blink.
That's true. He does have Charge. DT Shrine has gone down for Siphon, so he has apparently he's dropped in on us. Main is mined out
it
for.
May just be for Archons, to be honest, though.
Yeah, it's true. I thought Thai Templar are a little bit more versatile with that. Storm's not terribly good, but they're cheaper.
With the double Robo Colossus, I don't know if you can afford the extra gas.
25 gas? I don't know. Minerals seem more important.
I mean, and the DT also have the potential of doing damage,
on themselves. That's true. You can make an argument for either way. I would think DT is actually a bit more versatile here because
the DT, I think,
Storm not so good against Protoss units.
The DT is like the better mid-game Archon, but in late game, the High Templar would probably the better one.
This is very true. Siphon on 7 gates, mind you, and double robotics. So he has pretty awesome production. So once he gets up, this will essentially be a third base, but he'll only be on a 2-base economy. It will be tough to sustain that. Same with the Giant Smurf. He's still only on pretty much a 2-base economy himself. His main completely mined out. Siphon's main essentially mined out, so there's 85 minerals left. Now, DT will be warped in here. Are there...
I mean, it's the thing is that these DTs, regardless of their utility, they're still coming in very,
There's
very
no observer
late.
here.
There is no observer here, so it's very odd that you would catch someone off at the 22-minute mark with no observer in position, but... that's just the nature of PvP, is that the mid-game oftentimes extends itself to very late, in terms of minutes.
Yeah, and DTs, man, I told you, DTs would be a great resource right here.
A nice little way just to secure his edge and come further ahead in this game.
We'll snipe that one DT at the natural. Gonna pull probes off the line from the third. Just buying Siphon the time he needs to get back into it.
So much mining time lost here.
Yeah, you can see the income tab, half of what Siphon is bringing in. Needs to get that observer over there to take it out. Now making its way over. Gravatic boosters on the way.
And if you look at the upgrades, actually, we have Giant Smurf. He did get that upgraded advantage early, but like we said earlier, the game is going to start to even out in terms of that we had that little advantage for Giant Smurf when he held that push initially, but in reality, his expansion was not quite as early as it could have been, so he didn't secure the economic lead. He didn't secure his edge. As we get to the late game now, everything's going to be on an equal playing field.
This is true. He is going to have +3 weapons out much sooner than Siphon. He's actually going to Stargate, so he probably will be transitioning to the Mothership play, which is actually pretty crucial.
Yeah, definitely something you need to get in a late game PvP.
Now, here's the thing. Smurf has a few Archons mixed in, as well as a couple Sentries and Immortals. Siphon, 1 Immortal, 2 Archons,
check out the actual units you see,
oh, that's true. I forget 11. So... Archon's the same. They're pretty much dead same unit composition, but 12 Colossi versus 8. That's going to be the big...
Does Siphon have Charge? Or does Smurf have Charge?
Smurf has Charge. Siphon has Charge.
They both have Charge.
Siphon has Blink. Smurf does not have Blink, although I don't think Blink is going to be too useful here.
It might be a little useful. Maybe you could pick off a reinforcing Colossus or something like that, but... Yeah, there's not really enough Stalkers out to make Blink, the game-changing element of this battle.
So Stalker and Cannon gonna trade all around a little bit here. We'll get up a little bit.
He won't make it in. 1 probe should be able to kill it though.
And no probes here, and he's just gonna go ahead and zap it down. Nope, gonna just run. So that Stalker getting a nice scout out.
Yeah.
Gonna see what's going on. See that there's more gateways going on. Do they see the Stargate? Where is the Stargate anyway?
I think it is. Is that the Stargate? No, it's definitely finished by now.
Where's the bleeding Stargate?
I think it's in the main. I think it's like in the...
There it is. Yeah. He definitely had to see it then. Siphon...
Yeah, so...
I mean, he's doing Stargate stuff. Fleet Beacon's on the way. Stargate's going down for Siphon. He's going to be a little bit behind on that.
He got Archons before Fleet Beacon, so... ideally, you would want to wait to get those Archons as the last thing you get, right? Because they're the most gas. They cost 300 gas.
So here comes the engagement. Siphon wants to push this. +1 shields is going to finish for Smurf very soon, which is actually might be quite beneficial.
But a little bit too late, though. It's not going to really matter right now because most of the damage is already being done. And looks like Giant Smurf, there's just nothing here to buffer these Colossus. And I mean, when it comes down to it, Colossus by themselves are very, very fragile.
Yeah, they don't have high rate of damage, so they can deal out a lot of damage, but they need the support to buffer.
I mean, and the thing is, they do best when there's like a line of units in front that they can shoot at.
Yeah, if it's all in a horizontal line, if it's dwindling in single
but
file.
If there's stuff blinking up, charging up, it's going to be.
I think Blink there would have been actually pretty good.
Yeah,
that's where Blink would have come into play. But Smurf actually on 3 base now. He's on a solid 3 base. He's only at 53 probes, but
4 base, you mean? But I mean mining 3 base.
Yeah, mining 3 base, a solid 4. Actually, only mining 2 bases. Natural is pretty much bled out.
Yeah, that's true.
But Siphon only on 1 base, so
it's going to be rough.
Yeah.
It means he's not going to be able to reinforce very much with gateway units, or even keeping up this double collar is going to become harder and harder because he has the gas to spare, but no minerals.
Yeah, and Siphon having a warp prism in a really weird location there.
Just wants to make an umbrella for those probes.
Yeah, those trees. Always use a shade.
But
Zealot's being warped in. Get up forward, march onto this army. Does
a little bit out of position for GIANTSMURF though. I mean, he needs to be careful. Doesn't want to lose.
Yeah, Colossi will go down there though. That's actually a pretty good pick for Smurf. They're not losing much for a trade of a Colossi.
That mothership though is almost out, and I feel like that's kind of the once the mothership is out, you have this immense timing where if you have a vortex and your enemy doesn't even have High Templar out, so he can't even feedback it.
This is true.
That's why another reason why Templar in the late game, you need to get a couple of them at least, because a vortex on that army, it's just like GG, right?
Yeah, you take out the Colossi, you take out half of the Colossi, any portion of the Colossi.
Or if they all go in, you just make a ring around the vortex. Yeah. It's so silly, but it's effective.
Yeah, so remember the significant army advantage here. DTs are mixed into this, so it'll be a little bit more difficult to...
one DT's not going to win the fight, though.
No, but you should be surprised how effective it can be.
Observer here, though, so it's okay.
It will go right down right away. Zealot's marching in. The whole army not engaging for Siphon.
There's no detection here for Siphon, so he actually can't even deal with the, with the
Oh, wow, the mothership has made its way out as well.
Yeah.
And I think Smurf is just going to steamroll this through. A very, very long macro PvP.
I like throwing that Phoenix in, too. It's kind of a cute thing to mix them in.
And Siphon's going to GG, so we're tied up 1-1. GIANTSMURF, after a very, very close mid-game, takes it on back. And I had a feeling he could do it, man. I knew he was going to do it by the skin of his teeth, but he was going to make it out.
The thing with PvP is, like, you wind up in this mid-game scenario for 20-plus minutes. It's just insane. Like, it's just so hard to make that last step into the late game. But when it happens, it's just